This is a podcast by the Business Times. Welcome to Wealth with BT. Learn to protect and grow your wealth in this monthly podcast series by the Business Times, hosted by BT Wealth Editor Genevieve Cua. This episode is brought to you by AIA Singapore.
Hi there, I'm Genevieve Cua. Today we're going to talk about wealth and health. Have you noticed that of late, numerous global surveys of wealthy people have found that even amidst COVID-19 pandemic conditions, their wealth actually rose? Most surveys classify wealthy as those who have net assets of at least $1 million. But some surveys set the bar at assets above $100,000. One of the most recent studies, in fact, found that a greater number of individuals, and this includes individuals in Singapore, actually entered the ranks of the ultra-wealthy, defined as those with net assets of at least $30 million. Does this surprise you? On one level, perhaps it isn't surprising. Low interest rates, as you know, have until recently boosted stock markets and other assets like property. Wealthy individuals have the means to invest in assets that have the highest appreciation potential, like real estate and private equity, that people with less wealth typically can't even get a whiff of. But what may make you sit up is that even wealthy people have financial needs, including the need for life protection, legacy planning, and health protection. In fact, their need for holistic financial planning may be greater, especially if their assets are complex, maybe a mixture of onshore and offshore assets, for example, or they may have very young dependents, or they're entrepreneurs. Business risks, after all, often are not confined to the business realm, especially if you have put up personal guarantees for bank loans. If this is so, your personal assets may be on the hook for business liabilities. One of the biggest impacts of COVID-19 has been to make all of us sit up and consider our personal risks. Do we have enough life protection so that our dependents will not just survive, but also thrive if something happens to us? What about our health cover? We do have a basic hospital plan under MediShield Life, but this is severely limited by its design and structure. If we are to rely on that, we may run the risk of high out-of-pocket expenses. A private integrated shield plan is a must, especially if we have certain expectations of the level of care we want, such as a private hospital. But is that sufficient? And what about investments? As heads of families, we are stewards of our family's assets, which include the pot of savings for our retirement, for our children's future education expenses, and near-term expenses that we may need to plan for, like renovations or the purchase of a new car. When it comes to our portfolios, how do we shield the portfolio from sharp volatility? Not only that, but the risk of permanent capital loss. How do we ensure as best we can that our investments will keep pace with inflation? A survey by AIA Singapore of people with net investable assets of at least $1 million Singapore dollars found that COVID-19 has left a lasting impact on wealthy Singaporeans. Most, for instance, have shifted their asset allocation and become more conservative. Most also continue to express concern over their family's health and the future of their children. We have with us Melita Teo, AIA Singapore's Chief Customer and Digital Officer. Melita, among a broad base of clients, AIA also caters to high net worth individuals. Can you share with us what are the major vulnerabilities of wealthy individuals in Singapore and how can these needs be addressed?
Thanks, Genevieve, for having me on this program. We have at AIA been looking at how we can better serve the high net worth segment of customers. There is a general misconception that high net worth individuals, by virtue of how much wealth they have and are typically measured upon, they have very little to worry about. But based on our survey that we have done is actually not true. They have concerns as well. It's just that they have a very different set of concerns. How they manage their financial assets, how they protect and grow their wealth and also their health, so that they can pass on their legacy to the future generations, and yet also be able to live out the rest of their lives in, good health and good quality of living. In a study that was done by Agility last year called Wealth Lens Singapore, alluded to 40% of the high net worth being worried about not being able to meet their financial goals when they retire. So that's, quite different from what we might think of them, right? They also expressed a more cautious approach to the future, with 64% saying that they started saving more, and about half bought more health insurance in 2021. That we know is also spurred by more awareness during the pandemic of people being more concerned about providing for themselves and also for their families. So in today's environment, there has also been an increasing interest in the broader notion of well-being, meaning a wealthier life is not always just the benchmark. More and more, health is known and regarded as a resource that allows us to realize our dreams and aspirations, enabling us to lead a better quality life. And that with the wealthy is also a wanted aspiration as well. We also found that high net worth individuals in Singapore value mental and physical well-being as much as financial well-being. That's why at AIA, we believe in achieving wealth being. This is a concept that we have put together, which is really a goal of protecting and growing one's wealth and health so that they can truly be empowered to live healthier, longer, and better lives. Wealth being at AIA, right, is really from the perspective of tapping on our expertise in crafting personal solutions tailored to each individual customer depending on their needs. So we take a holistic approach to maximize the growth and fulfillment for our high net worth individuals through curated privileges, bespoke lifestyle experiences, and also a holistic and innovative product offerings to help elevate their wealth and also optimize their well-being.
We've just heard from Melita on the survey of high net worth individuals and how COVID-19 has woken them to risks they may not have considered as well in the past. I think it will be helpful if we make those needs a little more concrete with some examples. We have with us an advisor, Jerry To, who is AIA Financial Services Associate Director, to help us understand some of these risks. Jerry, you have a case of a client with a medical crisis. She was diagnosed with malignant thyroid cancer and actually sought 3 medical opinions before deciding on her surgery, which must have been very costly. And all this occurred amidst COVID-19. Can you tell us more about this case and the insights we can draw from this?
Hi, Genevieve. My customer actually discovered she had thyroid cancer during an annual health screening for AIA Altitude customers in somewhere December 2020. We all know that AIA Altitude is an exclusive program for AIA customers who own and maintain policies with an total annualized premiums of at least $10,000 a year. So before her surgery, she was very concerned about speech impairment and the possibility of visible scars near her neck. So I met up with her and she told me that she will be going through 3 different medical opinions, and all this occurred over 5 months before she decided on the surgeon for her intended surgical techniques. Fortunately, all bills were claimed from her insurance, and this gave her peace of mind. After the surgery, all follow-up bills were also claimable, and she also stopped work for a few months so that she can focus on recuperation through a $100,000 claim from an AIA Critical Illness Protection Plan. So she's very thankful that during this entire COVID-19 pandemic, she's able to receive the best medical care and attention. And most importantly, she's assured of the service standards from my team and AIA. Right now, I'm very happy to say that she has since returned to work and planning towards her retirement. She has invested in AIA Holistic Wealth Management solutions that allows her to leverage on institutional funds, which she believes in. Through this journey with my customer, it's a classic example of how it's important to be sufficiently prepared for unexpected medical expenses, which could actually pose a significant threat to your own finances, regardless of how wealthy you are. Critical illness affects not just your physical health, but also our financial health. Thus, with comprehensive insurance coverage, we can be assured of the financial support and peace of mind to focus on our recovery. However, in Singapore, we all know that with high treatment costs and potential loss of income, illness can quickly erode your wealth on top of your health. So there's value in protecting your health and your wealth.
This is Wealth with BT with Genevieve Cua. This episode is brought to you by AIA Singapore. Find us on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or via the Google Voice Assistant and Amazon Alexa-enabled devices. And now back to our podcast episode.
And we've just heard from Jerry To about a client who suffered a malignant cancer, which must have been very distressing. Jerry, you have another client who was retrenched amid our COVID times from a high-paying job. His financial stress must have been killing, as he has a homemaker wife and his son is only 12. He also has 3 properties for which he had mortgage payments to worry about. How did you go about diagnosing and addressing his risks?
So over a course of a few meetings, I explained to this client of mine that he's in outstanding financial shape and he can actually take about 10 years to find a replacement job without major impact to his current lifestyle. So at first, he was not reassured at all. So we reassessed his current net worth, assets, short-term and long-term liabilities. So he's ensured that his monthly cash inflow from various sources was sufficient to pay for his monthly outflows. And my customer, most importantly, has slightly more than 36 months of emergency funds. Also, I clearly presented his inflation-adjusted returns to him, taking into account the potential interest rate hikes for his 3 mortgage loans. I also look at the impact of the worst-case scenario with my customer, such as selling off his car, not having any budget for leisure travel, especially after COVID, everyone is rushing off to travel, or being unable to collect passive income if couldn't rent out his properties, or his tenant default and unable to pay rental. So together with his wife and son, I seated them down and identified their family needs versus wants. In July last year, a few months after my customer was retrenched, he also increased his life insurance coverage by 300% as he realized that he was underinsured based on his asset liabilities and most importantly, dependency needs. This need even became more material to him when he was retrenched. At the end of our sessions, I believe it's about 5 sessions, my customer felt comforted and assured of his well-being. He's currently setting out his own e-commerce firm. I told him, why work for the dreams of others when you could fulfill your own dreams? Throughout this journey with my clients, I've realized that I benefited from AIA rigorous training initiatives to elevate my financial advisor competency to better serve my high net worth customers. I'm able to confidently identify and assess risks and provide peace of mind to my customers.
We've just heard from Jerry on his client who was retrenched and is now an entrepreneur. No matter how distressing your circumstances, it helps to have an advisor look into your family's needs and wants and help you to find a solution. But there is also anxiety about investments. Melita, as stewards of our family's savings, it is worrying for many people to experience sharp volatility and now the uptick in inflation. Inflation is a big change in the environment. What insights can you offer that may help people to invest with confidence?
When it comes to investment, I think it's useful for one to look at a longer time horizon rather than trying to time the market. I mean, markets can go up and down, and for many reasons that, an average investor would not have the resources nor the time to be able to monitor. A good way of investing is for one to actually start small and invest over a longer period of time. And another way of ensuring a prudent investment philosophy is to actually look at a strong and resilient investment portfolio, because this would ideally contemplate any increase in inflation pressures. And also one of the personal tip is to review your financial plans regularly. One of the things that some people do is they just put money inside a lump sum and then they try not to look at it for a period of time, thinking that with time, as with inflation, which keeps going up, then their investment returns would go up as well. And that actually really doesn't really happen in real life. So some level of financial discipline is useful. Taking the time to review your financial priorities and also your investment plans, that is necessary to ensure that your investments are kept up to speed, and also your spending patterns are also considered as well, so that one can keep on track for their own financial goals. And also to invest with greater confidence, one can consider wealth solutions that are managed by investment professionals who are experienced in portfolio management and also anchored in sound investment philosophy. It's really akin to leaving the experts to do what they are good at. We are very focused on delivering long-term sustainable results to protect and grow the assets under our stewardship. Things like hidden inflation, for example, amongst the other, market challenges, is one type of shorter term event that we constantly look at and try to mitigate in our long-term investment horizon. And our proven ability to manage short-term volatility and also the disciplined approach that we take towards sustainable investing has allowed us as a company to build a resilient investment portfolio, not just for ourselves, but also for the policyholders that we are accountable to, so that we are well positioned and so as our customers would be well positioned to achieve their financial and protection goals.
There you have it. High net worth individuals may have ample assets, but they do also have concerns about meeting their long-term financial goals, and most of all, about their health. Health issues, after all, can have a long-term impact, not only in terms of our quality of life, but also in the financial costs. COVID-19 actually provided a silver lining in prompting us to think about the many risks we face and how we can better protect our assets and health against these risks. A financial advisor can certainly help to crystallize these needs and point you to a course of action. That's it for today's episode of Wealth with BT. Until next time, thanks for listening.
If you enjoyed this episode of Wealth with BT with Genevieve Cua, please like us and give us a rating. This episode is brought to you by AIA Singapore. That was a podcast by the Business Times. Send your feedback to podcast@sph.com.sg. Find us on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or via the Google Voice Assistant and Amazon Alexa-enabled devices. For more podcasts by the Straits Times, the Business Times, and Money FM 89.3, you can also download the Audio by SPH app. That's AWEDIO. Do note, all analyses, opinions, recommendations, and other information in this podcast are for your general information only. You should not rely on them in making any decision. Please consult a fully qualified financial advisor or professional expert for independent advice and verification. To the fullest extent permitted by law, SPH Media shall not be liable for any loss arising from the use of or reliance on any analyses, opinions, recommendations, and other information in this podcast. SPH Media accepts no responsibility or liability whatsoever that may result or arise from the products, services, or information of any third parties.